to WRPB and WRPB Studios. Okay, we live in Florida, and I call this the accent capital of the world. And I'm probably one of the few that for years didn't have back issues, and now I have a back issue. Don't ask me what it is yet, but I'm sure I'll find out soon. With me is John from South Florida Orthopedics.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
How you doing?
I'm doing well.
So, just to give you some quick background, John and I met at Martin County Leadership.
hmm
Okay, and we had the fun to do leadership. And when you do leadership, I don't know how, your experience, but you meet some of the greatest people,
Oh, absolutely.
and you
Yeah.
connect with some of the greatest people. And on top of that, I learned a lot about myself. I don't know how you feel about that. Okay.
No, that was the experience. It wasn't necessarily what we were going to do, but it was the people that we were going to meet and the journey that we were going to take internally. So yeah, it's been a phenomenal ride. Learn more about myself, learn more about you, learn more about the community. It's been fantastic.
Yep. All right. So South Florida Orthopedic.
Yeah.
What do you do at South Florida Orthopedics?
So I'm fortunate enough to serve as their CEO, and I've been their CEO now for since last August. So been there now for 18 months, but it's been a great ride. Yeah.
What's the function of South Florida Orthopedics? Like, is it surgeons?
Yeah.
Is it-
So yeah, I can give you a quick rundown.
Yep.
So we basically cover you from head to toe. So we are a full service musculoskeletal unit. So we have 55 providers. 22 of those providers are orthopedic surgeons that specialize. So if you have a hand issue, elbow issue, back issue, knee issue, pain management, we have subspecialized doctors that can take care of you. And we also have 30 providers that are physical therapists, occupational therapists, physician assistants. So we can cover pain management, we can cover surgery, we can cover therapy, we can cover rehab. So basically anything musculoskeletal, South Florida Orthopedics is here for you.
See, the reason I bring people on is because surely I want them to learn, but I like to learn.
Yeah.
Now, I went through leadership with you, and we spoke, but I didn't know how much you guys did.
Yeah, so we currently have 3 locations. So we have a location in Stewart, we have a location in Tradition, and we just opened up a 3rd location in Hope Sound. We have a small clinic in Jupiter. We have 250 employees,
Oh, wow.
and I'll just tell you that last year we treated and saw over 100,000. We had over 100,000 patient visits. So that's the volume. That's the extent of what South Florida does each year for this community, and not only this community but our patients, Florida patients. Yeah, so it's a big enterprise.
So, do you take insurance?
Yeah, we take every. Again, probably go to the website. We do our best to partner with insurance companies, right? So we could
That
we
can't
could
be
we could
easy.
we could spend the whole hour to arguing about us versus, but yeah. So we do our best to do what we can and take what we can for our patients here in these communities. So yeah, so we do take insurance as much as we can.
So, I have to bring this up because
Yeah.
it sits in my mind, and people always ask me. So you're not a chiropractic facility.
No, we actually don't have any chiropractic. We might have a physical therapist that has training in chiropractic, but no,
Right.
we're surgical. That's our bread and butter is surgery. So we can take care of you pre-surgery, at surgery, and post-surgery. So that's, I think, the premise of South Florida Orthopedics.
Interesting because, again, I'm with the guy a year, and I'm first learning this now as
Yeah.
we go along. Why'd you get into this field?
You know, that it's a very convoluted path. I actually started as a scientist. So I have a PhD in biochemistry. So I thought I was going to run Pfizer. I thought I was going to make drugs for a living,
Oh, thank God you did.
for a pharmaceutical company. And as I was going down that path of pharma, I decided I wanted to do more that could impact lives daily, right? So if I invented a drug, it would take 10 to 15 years for it to hit the market, right, with clinical trials. But if you came to my clinic today, we would talk. I would see you. We would have a conversation, and I could see you progress through your health journey together. And I find this more impactful than me being in a lab trying to make a drug. So when I was in my 20s, I made just a decision. Like, you know what? I want to help more people and have a more impactful kind of perspective on their life, on their families. So I switched from pharma to healthcare operations. So I've been doing this type of role since '07. I actually have the date in mind. So 2007 is when I left pharma to go to healthcare operations. And I've been running facilities like South Florida Orthopaedics since 2007.
Okay, so I'm gonna guess just from maybe eavesdropping
Yeah,
when we're in
of course.
leadership, but you were out west
I was. So
skiing.
I was. I sure was. So prior to Florida, I was living in Vail, Colorado. So I was up in the mountains, snowboarding and skiing and hiking, out doing the same job, but out in Colorado. Prior to that, I lived in Atlanta. Prior to that, I actually lived in Tampa.
Oh wow.
And I grew up in Chicago, and I'm actually first generation, so all my family's still in Greece. So
Oh, huh.
I call so I'm a good Greek boy. I call my parents every day. So my parents don't speak English, so I speak Greek. All my family's still in Greece. But yeah, so that's been my journey. So again, this isn't my first stint in Florida, but yeah, most recently I was snowboarding in Vail. A little bit different, climate different, but yeah.
Yeah, well, I remember hearing it as we were on one of our things with leadership, and it just stuck in my mind. But I know that we're in Florida, and I'm going to guess it's probably one of the best places to have an orthopedic center.
Well, here's the thing. You talk about back issues. So in a person's lifespan, 4 out of 5 people are going to have a back issue. So when you think about things that will affect everybody, the musculoskeletal will eventually get you. You're either going to have bad knees, bad hips, bad shoulders, bad back. Like, it just happens, right? And as Florida, the demographic of Florida is growing and aging, of course it's a good market. But I'll be honest, in my field, in musculoskeletal, it's everywhere, because it's not just about the aging population. It's now people just want to stay active. People in their 50s want to act like they were in their 30s. When I was in Colorado, there were people still skiing in their 90s and
Oh
100.
wow.
Like, so that's, I think, where we're going as a society is, I don't want to just age. I want to age actively. I still want to do the stuff I want to do, and I think that's where specialties like South Florida Orthopedics can help, and like our industry helps.
Well, it's really South Florida Orthopedics and Sports Medicine.
It is, yeah. That's our full name, is South Florida Orthopedics and Sports Medicine. Yeah.
Okay, and the sports medicine issue is keeping people healthy enough so that they can be active.
That's actually my philosophy. Yeah, it is. It is. So we have docs trained in sports medicine. We have physical therapy. So I can actually point to the clinical aspect of sports medicine. But for me, when I think of and sports medicine, is I just want you to be able to play with your kids. I just want your kids to play with their grandparents. It's that activity that I'm trying to just have people maintain throughout their whole lifespan, not just when they're young. I think people deserve that.
You know, if you take my wife, she had knee replacement
Hmm.
many, many years ago, where they didn't. I'm calling it knee replacement, but she has no kneecap.
Hmm.
Okay, so she has a hard time,
Hmm.
and as she gets older, it gets worse, and her back is miserable,
Yeah.
and they say to go for surgery.
Hmm.
Her concern is she has a ton of allergies. One is metal allergies.
Okay.
So she's nervous to do surgery because of metal allergies. And they say, well, what they use titanium?
We Again, it's now patient specific. So the industry has evolved to almost eliminate the metal issue, to be perfectly honest. So while it's still an issue, there's now different metals to use, different technologies, different platforms to use to avoid that metal reaction.
And that was probably her biggest
Yeah.
fear. And when she started thinking about it 20 years ago, and she went to an orthopedic surgeon, it was like a 50-50 chance
Hmm.
that it would work.
Hmm.
And she didn't think those odds were good enough for her.
Yeah.
So, but yet I hear people who go through it and say, best thing they ever did.
It's changed. So technology, and that's one of the reasons why I'm in healthcare, is that it's dynamic. How healthcare is done today is very different than what it was even 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 20 years ago. We have such smart technology now that implants are almost made for the individual. They're not just mass produced and just one knee fits all. Using AI, using technology, we can actually pretty much fit the perfect knee or hip replacement for the perfect patient, and it avoids complication, it avoids second surgeries, it avoids revisions, because that's how complex and smart we are now. And not only that, these implants that we're now putting in patients are actually smart technology. So there are sensors now in these implants that let the physician know how many steps you took. Did you fall? Is there an infection? So
Wow.
so the doc will know before the patient knows how it's going. And again, think about how that evolves healthcare and how it evolves life, right? So yeah, it's a completely different game today than it was for sure 5, 10, 15 years ago.
Does it, and because I have to bring this up, does
Yeah.
it pose a privacy issue?
No, well, healthcare is very HIPAA regulated, right? So again,
Right.
everything follows the same rules. So no, again, your relationship with your doc is tight, right? Now, I'm not saying there's never breaches of HIPAA. I mean, you see there's news articles all the time that hackers come in, but that's
Right.
any
My
industry, anything,
bank,
yeah.
my
So
city.
that's always a risk. We haven't solved that problem 100%,
Right.
but we are very much in tune with patient privacy.
Well, I'm waiting for a hip because I've fallen out of bed twice in the last year. So I've been lucky that I didn't break my
Yeah.
hip. But I'm thinking it's coming. Um, I don't know. You don't think like I'm going to be 67. I don't think like a 67-year-old. Okay? I think like a 30-year-old.
Yeah,
Now, how I think and how my body reacts, two very different things.
of course.
Very different things. So, like, for you, because, and I know that you're active in the sports thing, I'm guessing you're going to recommend to everybody that you deal with that they stay active.
So yeah, so from a philosophical perspective, I think what's so important is maintain your mobility, maintain your flexibility, maintain your core strength, and be kind to yourself. Like listen to your body. When your body hurts, actually listen to it. Don't ignore it. When you're tired, recognize that. Try to adjust sleep schedules. Eat healthy. Have good relationships. Be social. I think it's such an healthcare to me is such an ecosystem. It's not just one thing. It's not just for me to stay healthy, I have to have the best doc. Well, that's part of it, but you have to take care of yourself. You have to make good decisions. You have to, again, stay active. There's an opportunity cost to not doing things that have long-term effects. So yeah, my philosophy is you're probably will stay healthier if you keep yourself in a healthy state. Take that for what it's worth.
Well, and I tell people that the beginning of healing is in your mind.
Yeah.
If that's not in order to heal, you're never going to heal.
Yeah.
I don't care how many medicines they give you, what they give you. I was on my deathbed 3 times, but in 2010, I was on my deathbed. I lost 26 pounds in 2 weeks.
Yep.
With a very rare lung illness, and they couldn't figure it out. And they wanted to give me Marinol, which is a derivative of marijuana. And since I never did any drugs, I wasn't going to start now. And they said to me, "Don't be stupid, you're dying." I said, "You know what? I got this." And I made it through without the Marinol, without having any THC, any of that stuff in my system. And I believe that it was a mindset that helped that out. I'm not saying that the Marinol would have been a bad thing. I'm not saying it would be a good thing. It just wasn't for me and my mind. And I think, like I said, that most healing starts in the mind. If you give up, you give it up. Okay?
Yeah.
And I saw it happen to my mom. She got a wound on her heel. It was really bad. She was 90. She went from being kind of mobile to not being mobile at all. And to me, it was time for her. It was a lot of pain and stuff, but she gave up. She didn't want to fight anymore. How do you get somebody who's like at 1 o'clock on a Tuesday in massive pain to say, "You got to stick this out. It can take a little time, but we're going to get it right"?
Boy, that's okay. So I guess I have to disclose. So I'm not an MD, so again,
No.
we're just talking here, but
Right.
just through experience. Again, to me, that's where it's remembering what your function is, what your purpose is, your why, right? Our why is never to give up. Our why, I think, drives us to wake up in the morning. I think our why, understanding our why determines what we do each day. I think understanding our why dictates who our tribe is that loves us, that we love, that we would do anything for. So to me, it's just remembering of who you are and that you're worth it, right? And again, that's a simple thing to say, but I see it all the time. I've seen, and you're talking about, the people that have been more aged, but I've seen young people mentally give up that are physically fit, that are at the top of their game, that very quickly deteriorate because they've given up, right? So the question is like, and I think nationwide we have a mental health issue. So again, we can definitely go down that path,
Right.
suicide rates. So we can definitely talk about that. So it is an issue that needs to be resolved. But I think the first step is getting people to talk about it. It's not this thing that you should keep to yourself, that you should keep behind closed doors, that you should keep private, that you should be embarrassed about. If you're having issues, I think you need an outlet to start talking about it, to accept it, to find help. And I think it's okay to ask for help.
Oh,
So,
without a doubt, it's
yeah.
okay to ask for help. I mean, and I'm only human, so
Yeah.
when I went through a time of being so sick, and it was like I wanted to give up, my wife would yell at me and say, if you're not doing it for you, if you love me, do it for me. You have a daughter, do it for her.
Yeah.
Okay? And I believe that there's always reasons to stick it out and fight.
Yeah.
Okay? Look, we're not here, we're all never going to get alive.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? So we're not here for a long time. Make the best of it.
There it is.
Okay? And if you want to sit there, I have kidney stones every so often. I come to work. Okay? And I'm hurting. But you know what? I'm not doing anything. If I could be at home in pain or I could be here in pain. And what I find for me is no matter how much pain I'm in, if I'm doing something, that pain is either pulled back a little bit or I don't think of it at all.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm really lucky that my mind does work that way, because otherwise I would be home miserable. And for me, I'd rather be here miserable, okay, because I feel like I'm being productive.
Yeah.
So a little kind of different for me. Like I said, I'm going to be 67, and I'm like, oh, I need to step back. But I add more to my plate. And I add more to my plate because I think that's what keeps us alive.
I would agree.
Okay? I'm on the board of the chamber. I'm on the board of Horses and Heroes. I'm starting Treasure Coast Parrot Heads. I started a Parrot Head radio station. Do I financially need to do these things? No.
Mm-hmm.
But you know what? They give me purpose. And I always say, retiring is probably one of the worst things people can do. Okay? Well, you go fishing, that gets cold and old. And we're brought up to do our chores. Then we go to school, we need to do schoolwork and our homework.
Yeah.
Then we get a job. So we're always being productive.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden you retire and you're not being productive. And I think that has a mental effect on people. And a mental effect to me has a physical effect. We're getting to the top of time. How do people find you?
Go to our website. It's www.southflaortho.com. There's a number, I believe, down below, or you can just walk into the clinic. So just if you're hurt, just walk in. We'll do our best to take care of you. So that's it.
Everybody, it's so important to use a professional. If your back is hurting, don't go to YouTube and see how to fix a hurt back, okay? Because like I said, it'll end up costing you 5 times more when you end up going to a doctor, and it'll cost you 10 times more frustration. And I think getting out of pain is going to be your number one factor in time. Meaning, you could not do something about it, and you're going to hurt for 2 weeks and maybe get better. Or you can do something about it and you'll be hurting for 3 days and you get better. What's that time worth to you, as it is to everybody? We only have a certain amount of time. John, I want to thank you for coming on.
Thanks for having me. Pleasure.
Everybody, check them out. South Florida Orthopaedics and Sports Medicine.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
We'll be right back.